Welcome to Stretch Flow. This week, we are going to be focusing on the hips, spine, and a little bit through the shoulders. We're going to start with the big spine and hip flow, really focusing on segmenting the spine, rotating it through its full range of motion, full functional range of motion. We're going to gradually move from upper end down the lower end into the middle, help loosen things up before priming some hip stretching, some adductor, some deeper adductor stretching, and some hip flexor stretching. It's going to be about 20 minutes. Take your time through this, don't rush it, focus on your breath. I'm going to be repeating myself saying in through the nose and out through the mouth, or in through the nose, out through the nose. But we want to keep that heart rate controlled. You don't want to be holding your breath. You want to loosen up and enjoy. Starting first, lying on your side. So let's get into our T-spine rotations. Lower leg is straight, top leg is at 90 from the hip and the knee. I'm going to pin that down. I'm going to let my head just sort of rest down onto the ground. As I pin the arm down, I'm going to look at my free arm rotating overhead. Sometimes it's just best to look and try. Hard one to explain. So as I rotate here, focusing on a few things. The lower leg, I want to keep that nice and straight, almost like I'm reaching towards the far wall. The arm, I'm rotating through the shoulder. Notice how my thumb comes down to the knee and then my thumb reaches back to the ground. This is a rotation through the shoulder as well as through the spine. My eyes are following the thumb. Okay, this helps keep the whole rotation through the spine consistent. 3, 2, one more, and 1. Good, we're gonna roll onto your back. Grab your knees, just get a little gentle roll, segment that spine, and then we move on to the other side. Same idea, lower leg is straight, top leg is at 90, pin it down with the lower arm. I'm gonna now rotate first couple. Find your path here, inhale. Inhale as you reach up. And as I'm talking, it's gonna be hard to do the breath work that I want you to do, but I want you to go in through the nose and out through the mouth for the full class, full duration of this session. Focus on that in through the nose, out through the mouth, or even in through the nose and out through the nose, but we want to focus on the nasal breathing. Rotating, get a little bit longer with that lower leg and reach a little bit further with the arm for 3, 2, and 1. Okay, next part, we're gonna lie on your back. We're going to what's called an iron cross. So arms now out to the side. You wanna reach across with the leg. So when this foot comes across to the other side, you wanna try and go towards the hand. You wanna go towards the hand. Now we're gonna gradually increase the range of motion, but as you're doing this, it's important that your opposite hip, okay, comes off. So hip comes off of the ground, other hip comes off of the ground. But I want to keep my hands, the backs of my hands, on the ground. Let's maximize that rotation, that torque through the spine. Create a little more tension. Loosen up through the hips as well. 4, 3, 2, and 1. From there, flip over onto your stomach, going into a scorpion. So same idea as the iron cross, but now we're going to be going through extension. So as you reach across with the foot, it's not so much about getting the foot to touch the hand, it's moving the foot towards the hand. But I'm keeping the palms or fingers of my hand on the ground. One shoulder comes up off of the ground, other shoulder stays down. I'm actively reaching with my foot towards the hand. Reach towards the hand. Each rep, try and get a little bit further. You know you're getting close to the end range. You start to feel that stretch through the hip flexors. Not just the back, you feel that through the hip flexors. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, a little cobra here. Let's extend through the spine. Getting a good amount of rotation through the spine. We're just going to allow some passive extension through the spine. It's also good for the hips here because we're keeping that extended position. You'll hear me say anti-sit. All of these stretches and really any functional training should be geared towards making you less sedentary, or any of the things that you do that are sedentary, i.e. sitting, it oppose them, either by strengthening them, activating them, one way or another. 2 and 1. But back onto the heels. I want you to get your toes tucked under so you get a little stretch in the bottom of the feet, but try to get that butt down right on top of your leg. Now, with the butt staying on top of the leg, reach those arms forwards. You can put your forehead on the ground. It actually helps and acts as a wedge. That wedge is going to help keep your butt down on the heels. Walk the fingers forwards, feel that stretch through the lats, and then you're just going to rock left and right. Take that head off the ground now. Rock left and right, keeping your butt down. Get this full flexion. Loosen up through the calves, bottom of the feet, back of the shoulders. Rock left and right. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're gonna go back into what will seem like the scorpion, but we're gonna get into more of a pec stretch here. So we've loosened up a little bit. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna start with my left hand here, just to demo. I'm gonna keep this up, almost like a stop sign, not quite 90 degrees, a little bit higher, and I'm gonna push my body over. This is gonna create a stretch through the chest. It's important that you're taking this a little bit easier than the scorpion, although we're getting to that similar position. I wanna feel that stretch through the bicep, through the chest. Okay, and then you're gonna switch arms. This arm comes down, it's gonna be my plant or my support arm. Other arm comes up, and I'm gonna rotate the other foot. I just need to tap the ground, and if you can't tap the ground because you're feeling a lot of stretch, don't worry, but I'm just tapping and then coming back to the other side. Go nice and slow on this one. We're loosening up through the chest now, through the shoulders, but still getting a little spinal rotation. Creating that tension now, a little bit higher. Nice and slow. No need to rush this one. What you can focus on is getting your foot, when it comes across, a little bit further behind you each time, but only if you're not putting too much tension in through the chest. Okay, so let's continue back and forth here. This is a good one. If you don't tend to stretch your upper body, these muscles, the whole anterior front of the shoulder girdle, often neglected. If you're not able to get a good overhead position, which is most of you really, most of you probably shouldn't be using a barbell if you can't get that overhead position with a nice neutral spine, correct stability through the shoulder. So help loosen up. 2 and 1. Good. Now you're sitting on your butt. Let's go into our windshield wipers here. Knees down to the ground, over and back. Okay, belly button follows your legs. You want to find the shins down to the ground. Shins down to the ground. Rotating your belly button to the shins is going to allow you to move a little bit more freely. But now what we want to do is try and keep the belly button forward. So as I keep the belly button forwards, knees come down, create a little bit more torsion. Now that scorpion we were doing, that scorpion pec stretch, we're getting the stretch a little bit higher up. Now we're getting the stretch a little bit lower in the spine. Okay, over and back, over and back. Keep the belly button forwards. Keep a nice, tall, proud chest. You're going to keep the shoulder blades back. Another 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's stay here. Go into our 90-90 position. 90 in the front knee, 90 in the back knee. Want to be up nice and high. So this one, we've progressed this one the last couple of weeks. What I want you to focus on now is taking off the support arm. This is going to be a challenge for me as well, because now I'm going to want to rotate. Some of you might be able to do it. That's fine. You're going to challenge yourself to come forwards into the hinge and then back up. So I'm in this hinge. If I were holding on, it'd be much easier to hinge, but we're actively doing it. Okay, this is a little bit different. Mobility is the ability to move through a range of motion. Flexibility is the ability to stretch through a range of motion. We want to improve your mobility because it's going to be more functional for when we do daily movements and we do our workouts. So keep yourself up nice and high and then hinge. Okay, continue that hinge, hinge, and hinge. As you loosen up, it should become a little bit more manageable. Create fist, create tension. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, now we're gonna reach. Put the hand down, reach with the arm. Again, focusing on that spine. Come back up to center. I'm gonna bring that back leg forwards, and then I'm gonna go cross-legged stretch. I can push my arms down on the knees to create a little bit more tension, not too much. Reach back, reach forwards, palm up to the ceiling. Come back to center, and stretch. 3 more. Reach, palm up. Make sure you maintain the 90-90 position. I just caught myself, my knee moving out. Maintain that 90, creates more tension. Keep breathing going. Last one. Exhale on that stretch. And switch legs. So find that 90. Arms up and then hinge. 10. 9. Make a big fist. Might be cramping in the back hip, that's okay. Fight it, stay up. 2, 1. Oof. Harder on that side. All right, reach, palm up, and then alternate into that cross leg. Hinge, arms on the knees to help get a little bit more tension. Reach. Two more. Last one. Okay, good. All right, so that was a good hip and spine primer. Now, what we've been doing a lot, especially with this month's programming, is a lot of sagittal playing. There's a lot of forward movements, so squatting, lunging, pressing. What we're gonna do now is go into a little frontal plane stretch and some movement. So we're gonna do a little single leg frog hinge, okay? I think I might have just made up that word, but we're basically going, frog is both legs, going into the adductors or the groin, toes pointing forwards. Okay, and I just wanna rock back and forth. And I wanna find a position that creates sort of equal tensions. I wanna feel tension the whole time. When I say equal tension, it's not like it gets really strong in one position. It will change, but I wanna find sort of a balanced position that allows you to move freely. Groin tends to lock up on you. If you don't get a nice free moving position, it'll lock up in a spot on you. You'll go slowly through, it'll be uncomfortable, and then you'll move through it. But I don't want that nice, easy going back and forth. Now what we're doing is we're also allowing this femur, the upper leg bone, to rotate in the socket, much like it would in a squat. So we sink down to squat, I get you to push your knees out, create that external rotation. We need to create space in through the hip socket. So this is what we're doing here, creating a little space, getting a little bit wider than you typically would, well, definitely much wider, even in a sumo position. For another 2, 1. I want you to sink down here. So we're gonna begin to transition into our static stretching now. We've got good hip and spine flow to warm things up. Now we're gonna start to transition to some of this passive, deeper stretching. I don't like to overstretch the adductors, the groin muscles. These are ones that I find they benefit more from movement, especially if you've got a pull, But tightness through here, I wanna find the end range, focus on where I feel that stretch. I'm just breathing in through it. This is not something that you want a ton of tension on. I just want a little bit of tension, allows your body to loosen up and not be so resistant. The groin also the adductors tend to tighten up. It's very protective. A lot of the whole purpose of this muscle is to help prevent your leg from going out all the way. So it's going to tighten up to try and pull it back in. That's where you get a lot of groin pulls, because you've gone just a little bit too far, or your body tenses up because it thinks it's going to go a little bit too far. So there's definitely the length of the muscle issue as far as you can go, but it's also from a neuromuscular standpoint, if you're tense, you're not used to being in this position, you can promote pulls. For another 2, 1, coming forwards. I'm gonna stay here, I'm gonna pivot on that back foot, Back knee now comes down onto the ground. I'm gonna extend through the hip, point the back toe. Breathe in through the nose, out through the nose. In through the nose, out through the nose. Focus on your breath. Focus on that extension. I'm sinking the hip down, putting some weight into my hand here as I lower myself into the stretch. In through the nose, out through the nose. In through the nose and out through the nose. Every exhale, in a little bit deeper into that hip flexor. 2, 1, and then let's come back up to center and on to the other side. So arms for support, leg out. You can either go from the fists to the hands. I just find when you go from the fists, you're not putting as much strain on the forearms. It's a little more comfortable, especially if you go back. So back and forth. Okay, note the difference. You're probably gonna be a little bit stiffer here as we've switched over to the side we haven't been stretching. So don't go through what you think should be the same range of motion as you did on the other leg until it loosens up. Butt comes back, just gradually pushing back and forth. You can either, the back foot, you can't really see here, you can either get onto the toes or onto the balls of your feet, or you can go on the tips of your toes, tops of your feet, whatever is comfortable. Find that even stretch. Same thing, find that even stretch from front to back, just grooving this end range of motion, allowing the femur rotate in through the pelvis, sinking back a little bit further on each exhale. Now, if you're rocking, you can probably do one breath for 2 or 3 rocks. But inhale when you come up. So I've got 1 rock or 2 rocks per breath. So come up, inhale, exhale on the way back. On the second back, I'm inhale on the way forward. Just keep it rhythmic, keep it consistent, stay relaxed. Right, 2, 1, and now let's sink down into the stretch a little bit here. You can bias this a little bit too, so I rotate my shoulders one way or rotate them the other way. It changes the stretch. Find what works for you. My other side is a bit tighter, so I get here, I find myself, I just got to make sure I'm actively staying under tension. So even though we're in a passive stretch, we want to constantly feel equal tension. So what happens is as things loosen up, you need to almost create more space, either lengthen that leg, sink back a little bit more, just so that you maintain that tension. We're not going to overstretch it, it's just a little bit of tension, but you want to maintain it. Another 3, 2, 1, back knee on the ground. Pivot forwards into that hip flexor. Okay, often I rotate my hands. So I do this a lot when we do our push-up warm-ups. My chest is forwards, my fingers are perpendicular, and this will put less pressure into the wrist, and I'll be able to support myself more through the arm and shoulders. So if you find that you get a lot of pressure on your wrist, just play around with your arm or your hand position. So as I lean into this, every exhale, try to pick up some slack through the hips, meaning I get down a little bit deeper on the exhale. In through the nose, out through the nose. In through the nose, out through the nose. Fall deep into this one. And another 3, 2, 1. Come back up to center. Come back in. And we're good. Solid work. See you in the next one.